Modern money is almost entirely invisible. When you tap a card or check a bank app, no physical object actually moves. Since 1971, the global economy has run on a digital, abstract system backed by institutional promises rather than physical assets. The value of the US dollar, the world's reserve currency, is managed by a small group of people inside this building in Washington, D.C. They pull theoretical economic levers, adjusting interest rates and the money supply, to keep the global financial engine running. This chart tracks the price of gold against those same currencies. Lately, it has spiked to all-time highs as foreign governments and everyday investors hoard billions of dollars worth of the metal. Logically, this behavior is difficult to justify. Gold doesn't yield interest. It doesn't produce quarterly earnings. Aside from a few specialized electronic components and a lot of jewelry, it lacks modern utility. Money relies on collective belief. We accept digital bidgets because we trust the institutions maintaining them. When people start buying up massive amounts of gold, they are sending a signal that this trust is beginning to fracture. Early human trade relied on practical value. People exchanged wheat, salt, and cattle, things that actually helped you survive. Eventually, societies transitioned away from livestock and started trading chunks of metal. They settled on gold because it possesses a very specific set of chemical properties. It never rusts, it doesn't tarnish, and it won't decay. To early civilizations, a material that survives the elements completely unchanged appeared eternal. Because it was indestructible, gold became a blank canvas for a psychological invention, collective belief. Egyptians crafted burial masks like this for their pharaohs, elevating the metal into a symbol of divine power that everyone recognized and agreed upon. That shared belief soon morphed into an aggressive pursuit of wealth. When the Spanish arrived in the Americas, they encountered the Aztec Empire and its massive gold reserves. They conquered the civilization and melted down sacred artifacts into uniform bars to fund their own expansion. The prospect of pulling wealth straight from the earth drove waves of sudden migration. In the mid-1800s, hundreds of thousands of prospectors abandoned their homes and flooded the American West, building the foundation of modern California. But as global trade expanded, relying on physical metal became a logistical problem. Gold is incredibly heavy. It is hard to divide into exact fractions for small purchases, and hauling chests of it across the ocean is dangerous. To scale the economy, society had to abstract the concept of value. We took the metal, locked it inside vaults, and agreed to trade paper representations instead. This arrangement was the gold standard. Under this system, every paper note circulating in the economy was an IOU for a specific amount of physical metal held in a vault. Governments built massive fortresses to guarantee those paper notes. The United States hoarded thousands of tons of bullion at Fort Knox, giving the world confidence that American currency was legitimate. But a currency tethered to a finite physical object is vulnerable. When an economic shock hits, like the crash that sparked the Great Depression, people lose faith in the paper IOUs and want the real thing back. Panicked citizens rush to their local banks all at once, demanding their gold. Because banks lend out most of the money deposited with them, they didn't have enough physical metal on hand for everyone, causing the banks to collapse. This was the straitjacket the Federal Reserve found itself in. To stop the economic bleeding, they needed to print more money and lower interest rates. But they couldn't issue a single new dollar without having a corresponding block of gold in the vault. Constrained by a shrinking pile of metal, the government watched the Depression drag on. To regain control, the U.S. severed this physical link entirely, making it illegal for citizens to redeem dollars for gold in 1933, and ultimately cutting off foreign governments in 1971. That forced society into the psychological leap of fiat money, a system where currency has value because the state promises it does, rather than because of a physical asset. Fiat currency grants central banks incredible flexibility. They can invent new money to rescue the economy during crashes like 2008 or the COVID-19 pandemic. This flexiflation often bleeds into political tension. When citizens feel their savings eroding, they demand answers. Politicians, in turn, pressure central bank officials, like this moment between Donald Trump and Fed Chair Jerome Powell, causing the public to question who is actually steering the ship. In response to this lack of trust, technologists engineered an escape hatch. Cryptocurrencies like Bitcoin were designed to operate outside the control of any central bank, offering a strictly limited digital money supply that no government can artificially inflate. Yet, despite digital alternatives, central banks and nervous investors are still returning to the physical past. They are quietly stacking thousands of yellow bars back into their vaults. Gold's current record highs prove it acts as humanity's psychological failsafe. Whenever the abstract promise of paper money feels fragile, we instinctively retreat down the ladder to an indestructible, shiny rock.